Hi, everyone. This is Aaron Myers with the Ishmael Interactive CX Pod. I'm joined today by CEO Anna Monroe. Anna, why don't you say hi?
Hi, everybody. This is Anna Monroe from Ishmael Interactive.
And Anna, what do you want to talk about?
Yeah, I want to talk about this article that Scott Kellum, our director of design, forwarded to me the other day that, for better or worse, and we'll link it in the show notes, was about how products register what you can do on them or not. Um, and the kind of dichotomy that the article set up was when you run a Chromebook, which is a pretty low cost laptop from Google. If you want to run a really compute heavy program like Blender or something, which is a 3D animation software, it'll tell you you can't run this program on this computer. It'll just tell you that flat out. Apple just launched their new competitor to the Chromebook, and I can't remember the name of it, but it's like a lower priced laptop. It's like under $1,000. And they do the opposite. If you want to run Blender or some other super crazy heavy program on it, it'll run it. It'll just run it super slow. And so you get very well acquainted with the spinning beach ball. If anybody's a Mac user out there, you'll know the spinning beach ball happens when your system is going very slowly, but it'll run Blender. And the author of this article makes the argument that that is a much better customer experience because what you're telling the customer is that the thing that they have is good enough and they are able to use your product and explore and expand their horizon, and then maybe they can upgrade their product eventually, right? Whereas the Chromebook tells you that you're not good enough. And the author got all this from those one messages. And so I wanted to see what you thought, Aaron, about this because it's actually a really insightful statement around what is customer experience. Do you say to your customer, like, I want to have the best possible experience, so you cut them off when they're not going to have a good experience? Or do you support them in their less quantifiably good experience because you're investing in a longer term relationship?
That is a really interesting point, Anna. I hadn't seen that article, but I am familiar with the behaviors you're talking about.
Yeah, you use
I've
Windows, right? Don't
I
you use
use
Windows?
I use Windows, but I've had my Mac time, I've had my Chromebook time. We, pass through computers
Of
with the
course.
jobs that we do. Um, I'm going to kind of take an opposing stance. I like being told this is not for me up front and saving me the time
Mm.
of failure.
Mm.
My time is money. I don't want to be fooled into the idea that my computer is made for everything when it's not.
So I think that we should pull this up out of computers, right? This is a bigger question for companies than just computers and users like that, right? What we're
Yeah.
talking about here is, do you set hard limitations on your user, or do you let your user push the boundaries to see what they can get done with the resources that your company is providing? And I argue, as you rightly interpreted, that you should let users push the boundaries. I think that this comes up really frequently when things simply break for users. For example, like whenever you go to the airport and you have to check in the little kiosks and something goes wrong, it doesn't typically, there's not this clean message that's just like, oh, the system can't handle this. It says something arcane, like you need to see an agent or something that heightens your stress as opposed to supporting you through knowing that you can get through this. And then the human to human contact to make that leap from the kiosk to the agent is very concerning because the lines are long and everything's chaotic. Whereas if the kiosk was like, this is going to be hard, the agent who's standing near the kiosk needs to be able to help you and gives you these breadcrumbs, then I think that's a much better user experience than just the terminal breaking or telling you no. Like computer says no is like a joke, right?
So here's the thing. The spinning beach ball sometimes is a precursor to a crash that eats your data. And if there's a possibility of that, I am even more worried. Because if I'm going to the airport and I go to the kiosk and it can't run my stuff and it eats my ticket, I've had a very bad day.
When does your ticket get eaten? Is this 1970? Your ticket
Well,
never, what do you putting a paper ticket in there?
Right, because they're doing the Chromebook methodology of we're going to hard cap how catastrophic this can get.
Mm, okay.
And that's it depends upon how catastrophic failure is. There's got to be a floor beyond which they just stop you before you get there and say, you know what, maybe it's better you don't experience this.
Okay, got it. For real, got it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I guess I can see that point. The spinning beach ball can be very like disheartening, but I would rather have a product or a service tell me that it's not quite sure, but it'll try because sometimes it works, right? And in this article, it was talking about how young users or users that are on a shoestring, you're telling them their thing isn't good enough, which really cuts out this idea of exploring. Um, but I would say, and I would say from the internal side, getting your customers to kind of redline your work is a great way to learn in what direction you need to improve it and how you can help people get to that improvement if you do it right without like pissing them off, obviously. But I see your point about like the if a product's going to eat your data, that's very concerning and you want to know. But I also want to point out for everybody, I don't know if everyone's watching, you might be listening. Aaron and I are both middle-aged, right? Like,
Yes.
yeah, sure, Aaron, our time is money. That's
Very white
correct.
beard.
But like, I have gray hair, but like, I mean, when you were 24, kind of, let's be honest, you were like, I'm going to see if this works, right? Your investment was an investment of time because time was a commodity you had kind of plenty of at the time. I mean, I did at 24. Um, so yeah, I think that it's different depending on the user's obviously personal circumstances. I would personally prefer to have a system that allows me to fail slowly and to opt out when I want, as opposed to a system that's like, you can't do this, but especially if the system's like, you can't do this and doesn't provide me another path. So the
Right.
Chromebook doesn't tell you, you just need, this many, this much more RAM or whatever it is. It just tells you you can't run it. And that's what do you do with no information? I think that that's what I would be looking for is a way to remedy this problem that I'm running into.
Right. Chrome has had some also not great experiences because when it's an admin run system, they'll set it up by profile and it won't be based on what your system has. It'll say, you're a student, this is not for you. Okay.
Mm,
Horrible experience.
horrible.
That is too far in the other direction. But
Right.
my time when I was a tinkerer who said, I'm going to make this run anyways,
Hmm.
was in a generation and a time when there weren't a dozen different open source, web based, easy to run alternatives to every industry standard out there.
There is not an alternative to Blender.
Not a great one. Not a great one. You could piecemeal different parts of it in roundabout ways, depending upon your requirements. I would also say not
Right.
everybody needs full Blender.
I mean, I would say
Um,
most people don't need full Blender. I only
yes,
used it in grad school and then I promptly forgot everything about it because I did not need it.
right.
Yeah,
So in that respect, it, if I see these messages that I can't run it,
sure.
it's going to send me to entirely alternative programs to fit my needs that I could find online in 10 minutes.
So, and that's still time spent. So you're saying that you would rather spend time trying to find an alternative DIY style rather than being like stair-stepped into that conclusion by the slowness and the accumulation of errors. Is that correct?
Yes, the way I'm talking about still costs time, but it costs way less time. And I'm
Mm,
not learning a system that
debatable.
ultimately I'm not going to settle in.
Debatable. Anyway, I think that we can agree to disagree on this one. I
Yeah,
would be really interested
absolutely.
to know what other people feel about this. I also, yeah, I just find it there's a lack of intentionality to like computer says no, where I'm like, "Ugh, does the computer really say no, or are you just like saying that? I just have a lot of low trust over here.
It's hard to hear now in any venue.
True.
But
I
yeah, absolutely. Anybody who's listening to this, you should feel free to chime in. I would love to see more opinions.
totally.
Well, thank you so much for the discussion. I'm Aaron Myers. That was CEO Anna Monroe, and we will catch you next time.